Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background before joining the coaching program?
I'm Nevil Kapadia. I'm in the UK based, and before I met Tiago and Frank at the Closer Lab, I was struggling a lot in finding a decent opportunity, especially one that could be in my time zone in the UK. And also, I was gradually declining on having enough support in reviewing the calls I was doing, and also in having someone challenge and keep me accountable with my skills. And that had been a roller coaster for the past 2 years until recently, over the past couple of months, I came across Tiago and Frank and the Closer Lab, and we got into discussion. And I decided that this is what I really need to get me up to the next level.
And what motivated you to actually start working and enroll into the Closer Lab?
Yeah, so there were a couple of things. Number one, I had approached others over the years just through my own fact finding on the internet, and it never really aligned with me. So this time it was through referral.
Mm.
Someone who already knew you guys and had said to me, look, this is a really good alignment. And it's from that then that I went on to a webinar, and it was the real aspect. It was actually meeting someone on a webinar, which was Frank at that time, hearing him talk about the way he approached everything, how much more natural it was. And like everything, it's got to have that gut feeling. So for me, it was the feeling of I'm not trying to be pushed a square peg in a round hole in doing a certain system. It
Mm.
was they were going to work with me as the way I am, and that really is something I hadn't come across before.
Mhm.
And I felt from my experience of trying to fit myself into a certain framework, script, systems,
Mm.
this might be the best way forward. And that really was the impetus for then finding out how do I get on board, what actually is going to happen.
I wanted to touch a little bit on the challenges that you were encountering and facing before starting the program. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so there were two aspects to that. One was actually having an opportunity that I could work with to earn an income. I'd
Mhm.
been struggling over the years to find a solid company that I could work with in the closing triaging role, or as a sales manager even role, where the company had already got all its ducks in order. They knew what they were doing, they'd got proof on what they were doing, and it wasn't a question of just throwing numbers at me and then finding out later. As I jump in, the goalposts had been changed. Actually, they haven't got systems in order, etc. So that was been my struggle one. And
Mhm.
by consequence, the other struggle was the amount of calls I was able to do was declining. So my consistency was going down.
Mm.
So one was a skill aspect that I was struggling with, that I wanted to keep going on myself. And the second one was finding a role with a suitable company where I could put those skills in and earn what I wanted to earn.
Mm. How did those challenges impact your day-to-day life?
It, I wouldn't say high anxiety or anything, but it certainly made me less relaxed in just being able to run my life, not have to
Mm.
worry about the bank balance, um, knowing that I have got something I can keep seeing in the future to keep on going. But it's all that uncertainty
Mhm.
is probably the main word I would use to describe it. And then uncertainty gives you then a little bit of fear, it makes you uneasy.
Mm.
So that all was coming together. And I'd say that the impact of having this, I don't know if the opportunity is right. I don't know if I can earn because my skills aren't growing enough. All of that
Mm.
was coming together at that time.
Can you describe your initial experience when you started the program, when you started
Yeah,
with Close Lab?
sure. So the initial experience was firstly, it was looking at your high level mastery program and running through that so I could get the general idea of the background and all the fundamentals that I should have had ticked off in the past. that I needed to get back onto. So going through that, what was really impactful and helpful for me there was actually listening to you and Frank doing the role plays, doing the calls, and breaking it all down. So the theory was great, but it's actually hearing that theory being put into action. That's what I really needed. And then from that, having the one-to-ones with yourself, now it was getting real feedback on areas that I hadn't recognized because I had that standard to look at. I'd had nobody actually saying anything to me other than the owner of a company saying this is the way we do it at the end. So that was a refreshing part, and within a couple of sessions doing that, I could get back into what I really enjoyed years ago of understanding where I needed to look at and then being able to put in action to improve myself and then keep that consistency going.
Phenomenal. Fantastic. I love it. And you mentioned a little bit about coaching, and I'm curious to know what specific tools or technique did you learn during our time together that really like stand out for you, that really helped you out?
I think the main one is the understanding that I don't have to try and be a different person, and that what you and Frank and the Closing Lab are showing me and helping me to understand is how to be better in the way I am naturally. So I could just carry on being my own personality, but putting that into the role of a triage or a closer, understanding the process of my questions and the tone, the manner in which the questions are coming out, but done in the way I talk, because otherwise I'd have to change who I am. And number one, that's not enjoyable, and number two, I feel it's a bit false. So I like the way that it's being trained as how to be better, being better in my own natural way.
Can you share with us a memorable moment or a realization you had during the program that really impacted you?
I think the realization was that I'm actually not so far back. I'm actually good enough. Because after you imagine, after all this time, I was doubting. Well, I was doubting, number one, am I good enough now? And doubting, can I be good enough? Because I had no judgment on what is good enough. And having it reinforced by yourself that, yep, it's good enough, and these are the areas we need to work on, make it even better, build up the confidence then. And so when you introduced me to a partner I can work with, I wasn't entering into it thinking, will I even be good enough to be in that role? So it helped in that way because I'd lost that for ages.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit about the structure of the program. Do you think that contributed to your process?
I think what contributed to my process was definitely live calls and feedback. That's the number one. I can't wait for these webinars also to come, not webinars, but training webinars to come into place that we're doing, because that will again give me more live interaction that will help me build and build. So I would say that's the main part. The other part that is useful, but I would put the live bit at the top for me, is you've got the program in the background that I can always go back to 24/7 and re-listen and re-watch any areas again to keep understanding it and embedding it. Really. I work on repetition, and with it, not just reading repetition or just listening to something repetition, and then the live part to then add to it and reinforce it and make that whole understanding grow. So that's where I say the live part definitely, and then backed up with the online mastery that you got.
I want to transition a little bit to your transformation, right? Looking back, what changes have you seen in yourself since you completed the program?
I've become more, in a call itself, I've become more focused on just asking the questions, keeping to a time. Whereas before, I would maybe ramble a bit, I would do a bit of coaching on the call, etc., because I'd be concerned I wasn't giving enough.
Mm,
But one of the main things that you taught me, and I'm seeing happening now using it, is I don't need to say a lot. I just need to have the right tone and manner and know the question, when to ask and when to follow up,
mm,
and let the person I'm talking to basically convince themselves on there, not
100%.
not to interrupt them or try and add more to a conversation.
Brilliant. And what specific goals have you achieved as a result of your coaching?
Well, the big goal is being attached to a good company. Yeah, so
Mm,
basically now I've met the owner. It's in the UK. It's in the role I want, and the vision of the owner is the same as I would want it to be. So all
mhm.
of that is the goal. That's the main goal I've been looking for years, to find another company on there. Personally, for myself, one of the goals is to have the right type of training consistently happening for myself, as opposed to me just picking up books, picking up audio, watching YouTube
Mm,
videos and trying to
mm,
piecemeal it all together.
mm. How has your mindset shifted as a result of the program?
My mindset now has gone from being one of not really feeling like I was important on a call. I just do the call, and if it works, it works. That kind of attitude mindset on now, to now understanding that I can make a difference in every single call,
Mm,
which is, again, I'm going back to a mindset I had years ago that lost. So I go back to every call matters,
mm,
and the way I am in always, in every way that I approach that call and on the call, really
mm,
matters. And that reflects back on me to give me more of a focus, more of a confidence
mm.
to run the call the way I know I should run it.
What would you say to someone who is thinking about joining the closer lab, but he's still on the fence and not certain if he should invest in himself?
Okay, if they're thinking, number one, get to one of the webinars that are run, and just
Hmm.
hear, listen to either yourself or Frank, because that's what I needed to know. Yeah, when you can
Hmm.
hear the person that will be helping you, that's great. So that's number one. And number two is to think about, well, you're going to have to do something if you're serious about elevating yourself in this industry, in these roles. You're going to have to do something. And if, like me, you feel that you don't want to be just following one structure and therefore you can't adapt to anything else, then really jump on board, because if you are wanting to do natural conversations, then I haven't found anybody else really who's delivered the training in that way
Mm,
that, like I said before, allows me to be who I am.
mm,
Yeah, move forward. So if you're on the fence and thinking about it and umming and ahhing, as like we say on the calls to the people we talk to, we want either a yes or a no, not lying on the fence. Yeah, you got to be the decision maker yourself if you're going to help people make decisions on there. So make the decision, because what's the worst thing can happen? Your skills go up and you go off and find a better role.
Is there anything else you would like to share about the Closer Lab, about the program, or the time you spend here with us?
No, I mean I'm still relatively new in the process. I've still got a lot of room to grow with it. It's all exciting. It's the one thing I say. It's not timetable pressure. You're not having to sit for hours to do something one day, and then if you don't catch up, you're lost. Yeah. again, everything's in the background just to keep going at, and the motivated people find time and do it. I would say it's the balance of that and having the scheduled calls that then should fit into anybody's lifestyle, like, mine as well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
different time zones with you and me, but it still fits in really well. So that's for me is what I'm really happy about now. And then seeing for the future then is to see this grow with the continued reviews and helping with my own calls so that I can then keep elevating myself. And bottom line is earn more money.
Fantastic. Great, brilliant. I appreciate your time, Neville. Honestly, we're so happy to see you actually achieving your desired outcome. When we first spoke to you, you were a little bit like going through a panic moment. But now, as I mentioned to you at the beginning of this, we were willing to do everything to get you to where you want to be, and it ended up happening faster than we wanted to, which is great. We're always trying to make things happen fast. But we're here now. So kudos to you.
Thank
Well
you.
done.